This is the NERF Magstrike AS-10. This is a air blaster circa 2004. It was originally designed for the dart tag lineup at the time. You'd find them in red and blue with some neon green and orange details on there. And then later on it was released as a Target exclusive in the United States and an exclusive in certain stores in Australia under this N-Strike lineup in the yellow color that you see this one in now. Now the yellow ones supposedly were tweaked a little bit to be a little bit more reliable. The older blue and red ones, I had heard that they kind of had leaking issues, as with some other air blasters like the Hornet, although not as bad. This is an air tank blaster, so if there is a leak somewhere in the system, it's very detrimental to the blaster's performance. That being said, with this blaster being a decade old as of this video being made, if you do find one used, which is the only way you're going to be able to find them nowadays, if you have a chance to find them in a thrift store, it's probably best to check them to make sure that they're in good firing order. Buying them on eBay and such and online is going to be a bit more of a risk, because if they aren't functioning properly, they can be a pain to fix and get right. But yeah, one of my favorite blasters. And if I have any gripes really about you know, people liking, I still like Springer blasters, but the glory days of the air-powered blasters are certainly behind us, unfortunately. But this is still one of the fastest firing blasters that they ever made. Now they call it a Magstrike because it actually uses a magazine, and it holds 10 darts. It would have been Whistler darts. These are obviously Elite darts in there instead. But it fires them all in succession. It's full auto if you hold down on it, and you can just do burst fire as long as you manage to be easy on the trigger. You pump it here till you start to feel some resistance, and call it good there. And to fire, if you don't pump it up enough, you only get a partial fire. And I still missed one of them. Now that rate of fire, you can go through the entire mag in just over a second, which is pretty unheard of for a rate of fire from any NERF blaster. The range on this is also pretty impeccable. Granted, this one's been modified slightly. I don't have the trigger lock in here anymore. That guy's out. I removed this cylinder from in here so that way the bladder can expand just a little bit more to hold a little bit more air in there when you pump it up. And I also took all of the posts out of these mags here. Now they do have a belt clip so you can store them on you, but I don't really know why, because they never really released these separately, so you couldn't just stock up on mags. And finding spares is really hard to come by. I've managed to find 3 in the 10 years that I've had this blaster, so that's kind of a pain. But yeah, the downside to this blaster is that it does take quite a while to reload. When you're between mags, I mean, you gotta reload the mags to begin with, which are kind of large and cumbersome. But then when after you're done firing, some of those darts are going even over 50 feet flat, which is fantastic. I love the range and power on this thing. But yeah, trying to reload it not only from here, but then also then to pump it back up for only just over a second's worth of continuous fire is pretty hard to do. Now you can still do this in burst fire. You can do quick bursts of them. However, I've noticed that you kind of need to re-pump it back up in between those shots, because it wastes a little bit of air starting and stopping. And so this container is really only designed to hold enough air to shoot the blaster once. So if you're stopping in between shots, give it a couple mercy pumps to make sure that that bladder is still full enough to be able to fire off the rest of your ammunition, or else you're not going to get it all quite out of there. There's really not a whole lot of modifications outside of the basic ones that I've done that work reliably. I've seen people also convert these to air tank blasters or CO2 powered blasters, and that kind of takes out the issue of trying to reload it constantly, and not reload it, get the air charged in there constantly. But it's still a really fun blaster to use. I still use it in games to this day, and if you manage to find one in good condition, and you don't have one already, I definitely would. They're a blast to use.